Welcome to the Burnout to Lit Up podcast. I'm your host, Erica Del Pozo, occupational therapist, Miami girl, and founder and CEO of Joy Energy Time, where it's our mission to build a better healthcare industry by ending healthcare provider burnout. In these episodes, we'll discuss topics like stress management, personal and occupational well-being, energy, lifestyle, and more. You'll also hear from loads of healthcare professionals like you who provide us with their advice on burnout prevention and share ways that you can become your most lit up self. Ready to get started? Let's do this. Welcome to the Burnout to Lit Up podcast. So I'm going to be honest with you. By the way, I'm your host, Erica. I'm going to be honest with you that I've been trying to record this episode over and over again, and it's been really frustrating because no matter how many times I tell myself I'm not going to try to be a perfectionist, I am, and I hate what I recorded, and I delete it, and I start again. So no more, guys. This is it. I want to show up authentically and full of energy. So in order for me to do that, I have to let go of the perfectionism, be natural, and just know that it's okay if I stumble on my words and make a mistake and think out loud. I mean, we all think out loud sometimes. We all make mistakes, right? We're all human. So I judge myself harshly, of course. We are all our worst critics. And so I am learning to be patient and forgiving of myself and just move forward graciously through my mistakes. So with that being said, I want to touch upon quickly, do you ever take time in the day to be still, to get grounded? How often is it that you balance all the doing in your life, the going? How often do you balance all of that with just being, with stillness? And I know I've talked a lot about mindfulness and meditation in the past, and I do a formal Headspace app meditation every morning, but now I'm getting into the practice of impromptu mindfulness moments. And before recording this episode, I just put my feet on the ground, put my hands on my belly, took a few deep breaths, and set my intentions for this episode. So next time you go to work, before you get out of your car, if you can just take a few moments to be with yourself and be still and just be before you go in and do and put out all the fires and be an amazing hero that you are, I encourage you to just take that time for yourself. It doesn't have to be this big thing, this elaborate thing. It could just be in the moment before you go to the gym, before anything. You can fit in mindfulness and being still, just being still anywhere. So I encourage you to do that, because in the stillness we find out who we are. We're listening to our souls. We're hitting pause in a crazy world. So anyway, welcome to the September series. This is part 2 out of 4, and the September series is just a fun little thing I decided to do with September, and to talk about the different things that go into burnout that you may not have thought of. So today is all about communication. I'm going to go over how to improve your communication at work by solving people through understanding their personalities. Ooh, sounds so cool, right? I got really inspired by a few sources in preparing for this, and one of the books I talk about, I feel like all the time, that I've read over and over, or at least parts of it, like I've definitely gone back to certain parts and referenced them over and over, is Captivate by Vanessa Van Edwards. So I love her work, The Science of People. She has a Science of People lab. She's really cool. I would encourage you to check out her work. And I think it's important to go over effective communication because, like I mentioned in last week's episode, team and community, or lack of that, can contribute to burnout, because that is just one of the areas that if you don't feel supported in that by your coworkers, or if there's some lack of communication or ineffective communication, that's that's going to make things worse if you're burnt out. And that is a work factor in terms of burnout. So we're going to go a little bit deeper with effective communication. And you can join and sign up. I was going to say at the same time, you can join or sign up for the September series. Go to the link in my episode notes or my show notes. Go to my Instagram, joy.energy.time. I have the link in the bio. It's right there. And the September series basically is what I'm doing, what I'm talking about. But when you join, every week in your inbox, you get a little freebie that is related to the week's topic. So for this freebie for this week around communication at work, you're going to get a freebie around the do's and don'ts of how to keep a work argument from escalating, dealing with a toxic coworker, and dealing with just overall frustration and stress at work. So the freebie just supplements the conversation and the topic of the week and gives you a little more practical do's and don'ts and how-tos and all that stuff. So if you want to be on top of it and improve all the aspects, I mean, I'm not covering everything, but I'm covering a lot of things in the September series. But if you want to improve in different aspects to improve your overall well-being and satisfaction at work, to prevent burnout and just to be a better worker and support your team better, then sign up for this series. All right. So I was reading in the Harvard Business Review, which I feel so cool and so smart. The Harvard Business Review magazine. I saw it in the grocery store and I'm like, oh, yes, I need this. There was an article about toxic coworkers, which inspired a lot of the freebie. And this researcher said that in all the research that they've done, the single most important factor in team success or failure is the quality of relationships on the team. Let that sink in. The quality of relationships on the team is the most important factor for team success or failure. Wow. Mind-blowing, right? Because we often don't think of team and communication. We don't often tie that in with burnout. But as you know, a solid and supportive team is everything, because then you feel safe and you can flourish and you can grow at work. But if you have an ineffective team and there's places where there's leaks and some ineffective communication and arguments and conflict, then you know that it gets weird sometimes. You hide from certain people, or you're afraid to speak up to your boss, or you're afraid to stand up to a coworker. You feel like you see conflict, or you're a part of it yourself, where you're being told to do something or you're telling someone to do something, but it's not, maybe it's the way it's being delivered, that it's just not effective, and that creates conflict. So I think a lot of this boils down to communication. So let's talk about the 5 personality traits that, as Vanessa Van Edwards, she talks a lot about in her book. It's an amazing book. If you want to understand people, be better at people, at just being better at communicating with people, Captivate is an amazing book. And she talks about the 5 personality traits. And I love this because it's like a unique fingerprint. This isn't a blanket statement over people having certain, there's 4 types of personalities, and it's not like that. There's personality traits. So some people may score high in one area and low in another, or vice versa, or high in all, or whatever. Everyone's personality matrix is different and unique to them. So it's cool because you can identify, oh, what is my personality matrix? And then you can identify the personality matrix of others. So ready? Take some notes, mental notes if you're driving. So first one is openness, then it's conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. So the cool thing about this and in understanding this, that there's no right or wrong or good or bad. These are just ways that these are just the 5 universal traits that humans exhibit, and some people may be high and some low in others. And it also depends on the context. So if you're highly extroverted with your social life, but more introverted at work, then your matrix varies depending on your role and your context. And this is not a way to judge people. This is a way in which you understand people better, and therefore you can speak their language and support them in the way that they need it. So let's break these down a little bit further. Openness refers to how one approaches new ideas, level of curiosity and creativity, and the extent to which you value variety and originality. So people that have high openness love adventure. They love trying new things. They have a diverse taste in music and books, and they're all about the new stuff. Whereas people with low openness tend to love tradition, and they love habit and routine. They go to the same restaurant every Friday night and have the same waiter, and they order the same thing. So we have people that are high and low. And if you have someone at work that you work with that is high in their openness, they love and they become energized with new projects or new ideas, learning new skills, taking new continuing ed courses. They love new treatments, new interventions. They're all about bringing in the new stuff. They're all about that. That jazzes them up, right? Whereas someone on the low end, they may become overwhelmed with new projects and new pieces of equipment or new documentation systems. And what really benefits people that have low openness is helping them or suggesting a course or whatever it may be that plays up to their existing skills and strengths. Not to say that you should never encourage someone to grow out of their comfort zone. Of course, we are always striving to develop professionally, but I have worked with people that are I'm thinking about one particular coworker in mine of the past that I worked with. She was so low in openness that she didn't even like going on vacation because she would have to sleep in a different bed. She was so by her own routine. She lived in her own little world with her routines and wore the same hairstyle, the same ponytail every day, the same scrubs. And there were some coworkers that had different scrubs and all these cool different things, but she just thrived on her routine. And that was her. And she did a lot of the same treatments. Not that she wasn't growing or learning, because she did take courses with me and all that stuff, but she was low openness to new ideas. So when you're working with people that are either high or low, think about, are you giving them something that is going to exhaust them or overwhelm them? Like giving someone with low openness the role of planning a new charity or a new whatever. Think about people, think about this. This is going to really get you thinking about people and the roles they have at work and the things they do at work. So I'm just going to be sharing these different things, and then you can think of, oh yeah, in my particular situation, I know this person is high or low in an area, and okay, now I know how I can support them. So I'm just going to also give some examples from my experience, and hopefully that will help you. So conscientiousness is the next one, and to be honest, it's quite a mouthful. I don't want to say it that much. Conscientiousness, it refers to your ability or your approach and how you get things done. So that includes the intensity of your self-discipline, how organized you are. So for example, people that are high in this area, they care deeply about their appearance and their physical space. They love to color code things and put labels on things, and they have really detailed planners and calendars, and they love to know all the details and everything in between. So very detail oriented, whereas people that are low conscientious, things that are long-winded and detailed, things that would excite people that are high in this area, it overwhelms them. These are the type of people that show up late, that ask you if they can borrow your pen. These are the type of people that haven't cleaned their room in 5 weeks, Again, no judgment. This is about not judging. This is just personality traits. These are the things that make people who they are. And just, I definitely know some low conscientious people. They forgot to charge their phone. It's kind of like, and also at the same time, it's their attitude. It's like not a big deal. It's all going to work out at the end. Like nothing phases them. So that's where they're coming from. So if you have someone that is high conscientious at work, they're going to thrive from those very detailed packets, those employee handbooks, and they're going to love detailed emails and everything you can think of that involves detail and organization. Whereas people on the low end, they get overwhelmed by that, and they benefit best when you give them bullet points. When you give them the information in a very easy to digest way, giving them the important stuff that they need to know, and then giving them a little bit of space and flexibility to get the work done. So I had an experience when I was supervising a coda, co-signing notes and in charge of just overseeing overall how he was doing and being there for him. He was he was under the supervision of another OT that was extremely conscientious. And this coda is very low conscientious. So I remember she's like, I don't know what to do with him. He doesn't listen to my, all the things I tell him and this and that. So eventually I took over his supervision. And I remember just knowing, before even knowing all this stuff, knowing that he's very low detail oriented. And so when I met with him, I thought about that, and I knew that he was kind of feeling overwhelmed at that point by the things he told me. And whenever we met or whenever I emailed him, I made things very clear, very obvious, no fluff, gave him what he needed to know, and also opened the communication, and I listened to what he needed. And I just felt like when you listen to people, hence, effective communication requires active listening, you learn that your way of communicating isn't the only way. So listening to him, I had to adapt a little bit and be a little flexible so I can meet him where he is, because that is what a good supervisor does. And not to say that you're not a good supervisor or the other OT made a mistake. It's just knowing that, okay, it's hard to know unless you take off your glasses, your rose tinted glasses. It's hard to know unless you step out of yourself. And that's the whole point of this. It's learning. And it's taken me a long time to learn this and feel comfortable about talking about this. So like I said, no judgment. So yeah, low conscientious people, just give them the bullet points, give them a little bit of flexibility, and they'll get it done. Hopefully. So extroversion, this one's kind of obvious. And I classify myself as in the middle. I'm an extroverted introvert. And I've definitely developed that over the years. I was highly introverted growing up and very shy. But as I got older and worked on self-development and all that jazz, I became more comfortable with people and more comfortable with myself, really. So, okay, extroversion refers to how one approaches people. So do you feel energized when you're with people, or do you feel drained? So people that are high in the extroversion spectrum, they tend to smile more, and they show more confident body language. And those that are low extroversion, they enjoy more intimate conversations and small gatherings, and they spend their time recharging away from people. So at work, high extroverts love working with people in groups and group assignments and group outings and happy hours, and they love spending time with people, whereas people that have low extroversion at work may prefer the meeting to be in an email. We've all seen that meme, like this meeting could have been an email. Yeah, yes. I mean, some things have to be said face to face, but this is a great time if you're a supervisor or a manager to think about your team. Think about the personalities of your team. Do you have a lot of introverts that they may benefit from a few things being done in email, because I know I can raise my hand. I have like certain things just do not need to be discussed face to face. But if you have a team of extroverts, then go for it. Have all the FaceTime in the world. But just considering that, for someone that's low extroverted, they might not like documenting with people around them, and they might take their documentation home with them because it's just easier to do by yourself. We all know that person, and I've done it too, where I'm chatting next to the therapist next to me documenting. So it's about understanding what energizes people as well. So agreeableness refers to how one approaches cooperation and working with others, as well as one's degree of empathy and readiness to forgive others. So people that have high agreeableness say yes to everything. They're people pleasers. They don't want to upset anyone. They want people to like them because they want to be highly agreeable. And therefore, these people tend to say yes to things they don't really want to do, and they put themselves last. Whereas people with low agreeableness, like my husband, he's like number one example here. These people with low agreeableness are the first to reject an idea. They are very facts driven, not emotions driven, and they are not shy in voicing their opinions. So getting my husband to do something that he doesn't want to do is like literally pulling teeth out. Like he's so not agreeable, and I don't want to bash him, but it's like it drives me crazy sometimes. So what I've been learning to do, so a little personal hack, and you can apply this to work as well, is allowing that person to know, okay, I have an idea, I have a proposal, let me finish first before you interject. So that's very helpful in my personal and business life. And like, I know my husband edits these. So yeah, I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. Because I have to admit, I used to be very high agreeable in the past, and I used to say yes to a lot of things that I didn't have the space or energy for, but I had a fear of not being liked or not being accepted, especially at work. And saying yes and overextending myself didn't work in my favor, because I consequently burnt out because it came down to not setting boundaries for myself, saying yes to everything. So again, we all have our faults. We all have things we can work on. I was a little too high in the agreeableness. So what you can do with people that you work with, like, they're going to say yes, and they don't mean it. They're going to back out later. Whatever it is that you propose to them at work, you can say, look, just think about it. You don't have to answer me now. So take the pressure off them and have them either write an answer to you or tell you later. But I feel like when people say that to me, it definitely takes the pressure off of me. So self-awareness, that's the key here, self-awareness. And if you're presenting, so if you're dealing with someone that has low agreeableness at work, you can also use the same thing. Okay, if it's a formal presentation or whatever it may be, just let them know they can voice their opinions after you're done. Okay, last but not least is neuroticism. Now, I know, including myself, so I have to say this was me. That's not that long ago, but I was highly neurotic. So neuroticism refers to one's approach to worrying and degree of emotional reactivity. So people that have high neuroticism tend to become easily stressed, and they're always busy, even when there's nothing really to stress about. But these people are always stressed and always busy. Whereas low neuroticism people, they have a higher capacity to handle their stress, and their overall attitude about it is kind of like just more relaxed about the stress, even if they're really busy. And I've seen people that are highly neurotic literally create problems out of the thin air, like it's an award-winning thing I have witnessed with people. Like, they could win an Oscar, they could win an Olympic gold medal for creating problems out of thin air. And like, it blows my mind. Like, it's just this magical ability. But the thing is, for highly neurotic people, the way to calm them is counterintuitive. The way to calm highly neurotic people is by allowing them or letting them know that you've already thought or you've worried about the same thing you're on board with them and that it actually calms them down. Because how many times have you told someone that displays high neuroticism to relax or to calm down, and it only upsets them, it doesn't work, they don't feel like they're being listened to? So how can you calm them is you meet them where they're at and you're like, don't worry, I don't know if you should say don't worry, it might trigger them, but just be like, look, you know what, I triple checked the patient when I left their room, so you don't have to go in there. Everything's fine. They have their remote, they have their call button, they have their oxygen, they're good to go, right? So whatever it is, let them know that you've thought about it too. And it's not being fake or anything like being ingenuine, but it's about when you want to effectively have smoother communications with people you spend a lot of time with, like your coworkers, you start to learn their personalities, and instead of working against it, work with them, and you'll see where that takes you. So I love that trick in and of itself, because I deal with so many highly neurotic people, friends and family, and again, like I said, I used to be more on the high end of the spectrum not too long ago. I can attest to saying things like calm down do not work. So people just want to be heard, they want to be listened to, they want to be appreciated. So this is just giving you some of those tips, right? So if someone is low neuroticism at work and you want to appeal to them, the best thing you can do is not overwhelm them with unnecessary details about things that they shouldn't even worry about in the first place. They just don't need to know. Whereas someone with high neuroticism needs to check on things over and over again, right? So if it's someone has low neuroticism, just let them know you've done your due diligence, you did your part, everything is fine, and they're going to move on. They don't want to be bothered with unnecessary anxieties. My husband's super low neuroticism. He does not like to be bothered by things that aren't even a problem. So yeah, that's it. That's all, folks. The 5 areas, the 5 personality traits. If you Google Vanessa Van Edwards, or if you go, I think the website is Science of People. I'll be sure to link that up. But you can take her quiz, or you could buy her book. I took the quiz in the book, and in the book, if you're interested, if you're interested and want to learn more about people, then this is I'm not even sponsored by her. She doesn't even know me, but I just really appreciate her work. So what has this information taught you? Has it taught you, I know for some of you, hopefully all of you listening, that this expanded your horizons a little bit in terms of how to effectively deal with people. And I referred a lot to work because we're talking about work, but you can apply this really in any area of your life with any people in your life. Communication is more than what you say. It's how well you listen and identify the needs of your team and present information in their language to elicit their best response and their best work. Teams are flexible, dynamic systems, and we must learn to be flexible to the best of our abilities and be a team player. So if you haven't already, go to the episode notes, go to my Instagram, go to my website, wherever, it's all there. You can find it anywhere. The September series, you go, you sign up, you get a little freebie in your inbox, just a little extra guidance and freebies around the next step with every topic of the week. So have a great day, great night. I'll catch up with you guys later. Mwah. Thanks so much for listening. Like what you're hearing? Subscribe to our podcast, rate, and write a review on iTunes. It would mean the world to us. We come out with new and exciting content each week that will help you slay your burnout beast. So share the show with your friends and your coworkers so we can build a better healthcare industry together. Thanks again.